Thank you, Ginny. As pleased as Ginny and I are to speak about the importance of Amethyst and its mission, today I would like to invite community members and women who have experienced Amethyst's work firsthand to tell you about Amethyst's impact on the community. Our first speaker is a man who has rededicated his professional career to helping women reach their full potential and revive their lives. He created the CATCH program, which stands for Changing Actions to Change Habits. This new specialty court docket gives women who are arrested for prostitution the opportunity to get treatment for drug addiction and the underlying causes that led to their criminal behavior rather than be incarcerated. Amethyst is proud to partner with CATCH and accept CATCH women into our program. Please welcome Judge PaulHerbert, Franklin County Municipal Court Judge.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for this prestigious invitation to be here this morning and for the wonderful food that you've provided. It's just a great place to be. These hallowed halls hold a very special meaning to me because 27 years ago, this September, I set foot on these grounds as a first-year law student at Capital University Law School. That's what this building used to be. I want to compliment you guys for the changes that you've made, and it certainly is much different than when I was a law student here. And back then, when I think 27 years ago, it's kind of nice to come full circle today and to be here, because 27 years ago, as a law student, I believe that my greatest goal in life was to earn more plaques than any of my other law students. But time has certainly changed that. Law school, I'm also here today to thank Amethyst and Jenny for being willing to partner with me on this journey, this experiment that we started to start a special, unique program for women who are particularly vulnerable. And I'd like to just share with you how that came to pass. The law can be good. The legal profession can be good. But in reality, I think if you ask most lawyers and judges, the law can beat you up too. It's a very contentious atmosphere where people argue all the time, every day, and people lie. And especially as a judge, you get to see that play out in our courtrooms. You get to see the horrible things that other people do on a daily basis to each other. And you really get an opportunity to witness the depravity of the human spirit at its darkest points. And so, quite frankly, that can have an effect on those of us who are in that profession. And I, probably about 4 years ago, was realizing that, hey, on the outside, I was able to still get good scores in the judicial rating polls, still maintain the positive front and do what I had to do. But I realized that inside I was becoming colder and more distant and more protective of myself and more jaded of the people that came in front of me. And so I can remember the night I said a simple little prayer. I just said, God, I've got this amazing opportunity to be a judge. No one hardly ever gets that opportunity. It's such a blessing. But I know what's happening. And if there's any way that you could show me how to be more significant in my work, I would really appreciate that. Nothing happened immediately, but maybe 6 to 9 months later, I was in arraignment court. It's the worst place to be if you're a judge, because everyone that goes through arraignment court has been in jail. And it was a day after a holiday, and we had 36 domestic violence cases where women and the prosecution were asking for temporary protection orders against their significant other for beating them up and terrorizing them. And so we had all these hearings, and I kept seeing victims and defendants and victims and defendants, and it was a sea of misery, I'm not going to lie. And then the sheriff brings the next defendant out on the wall, and I look over, expecting to see defendant, and I see this woman. And she didn't look like a defendant to me. She actually looked like a victim, which kind of played with my mind since I had this protective, cookie cutter, let's get it done attitude. And I looked at her, and she was injured, and she had this lost look in her face, and she was ashen, and she was chained up. And I look down at the file, and I see prostitute. And, I grew up in the culture of it's the world's oldest profession. There's nothing you're ever going to do to change it. It was here in the beginning, it's going to be here in the end, so don't even try to do anything. But what I didn't realize until later is that if she could have talked to me, she would have told me that she had a 62% chance of entering prostitution before she was 18 years old, and a 96% chance that she was a runaway, and she was running away from some very serious sexual abuse in her home and mental abuse, and that she didn't understand proper intimacy and the ability to when and how to say no because of all the abuse, and that she ran into somebody out there on the street that took advantage of that and got her hooked on drugs. She could have told me what the life is like out there for these women. Broken bones, head injuries, hospitalizations, unwanted pregnancies, losing your children to children's services. The life is horrific, and as a matter of fact, she could have told me that 15% of all people who commit suicide in the United States of America are prostitutes. And the average lifespan is 34 years old. She could have told me all that. I had to find that out later. Now, if you're bleeding heart like me, that's all you care about. But if you're a fiscal conservative and all you care about is economics, well, the cost of this individual to our society is enormous. What does it cost to hospitalize somebody for weeks on end because their face is crushed in? What does it cost to all the prenatal care and the birth and the legal costs of hiring the public defenders and the prosecutors and the police? And what are you getting? You're getting a revolving door. We saw year after year, all 8 years as a judge, is just revolving door. They're out, they're using, they're back. So I had this idea, and it was a crazy idea. I said, we got to do something about this, and I think if we give these folks some extra supervision like a mental health court, we may be able to do something. So I went straight to the man that I always go first to on anything, and I'm so honored that he's here today. Judge James Graham has graced us with his presence today. And he's very special to me on many levels, and so I really appreciate you being here and sharing this moment with me today. Because if it wasn't for him and his encouragement, because I go to him with all my ideas, and he usually figures out a really nice way to tell me it's not a good idea. I think that's why I like him the most, is because he can tell me that I'm crazy without me knowing it. But this idea, he said, this is a good idea. You're onto something. So when I'm onto something, I'm onto it. You got to know that. And he introduced me to Bev DeLashment from Grace Haven. I don't think she's here this morning. Who then introduced me to Carol Harvey. Carol is right here. And Carol told me about Amethyst and, gender-specific, trauma-based, sober treatment for women. And so I was excited to get involved, or at least see where they could play a part in. And Judge Graham and Bev DeLashmus introduced me to Salvation Army, and Corsi, the Central Ohio Rescue Restore Coalition, is here today. Tricia and Christina and Stephanie. And so we sat down, I laid my vision out with Amethyst at first watch up here around the table, and it was resounding absolutely, we want to partner with you. And then came the funding, which was very difficult, but Judge Vanderkar was able to secure our funding, and it wasn't through the City of Columbus, which is where our budget comes from. It's through Franklin County, and that's why I'm so happy to see Commissioner John O'Grady here today supporting Amethyst. John? Because if it wasn't for his leadership on our commission, we would never have been able to get the funding to provide for the staff, which is Andrea Boxel and Shaniqua Gator is here. And along the way, we've picked up an organization called DOMA, which comes alongside and takes care of the special needs, and Michaela Bream is here from DOMA. And we also have some really neat behind-the-scenes people that work every day. My bailiff, Amelia Stewart, is just tireless. We've got Marissa Akamini from the clerk's office and Dana Smith from the clerk's office. They both work in my courtroom, and they're very active. Also, Rick Pfeiffer jumped on board early on and said, let's get this done. So what I didn't realize that day, and I'm going to wrap it up here, since I know everybody's afraid of how long I'm going to talk. Where's Lauren? What I didn't realize, though, this has been the greatest thing for me, is I didn't realize how special that woman on the wall could be. I saw this woman who was a victim, and if she could tell me all the things that I mentioned, I believed it, but I didn't know, I didn't have a clue. I didn't have the first inkling of what this woman on the wall could become. And now, a year later, I do. This woman on the wall could become a Gina, who 2 weeks ago celebrated 365 days of sobriety with her mother and father crying at her side. She's an Amethyst client. Vivian, 21 months sober. She's the first experiment I tried. Vivian now has a valid driver's license and insurance, and she drives a van to pick up, the DOMA van, to pick up the girls and take them out to the house. She goes and visits the women who are waiting to go to Amethyst who are in jail. She knows how horrible that is because I put her in jail a lot. And she goes and takes them whites, and if she has any extra money, she takes that money and she puts it on their books so they'll have a little extra spending money. It's not about her. She also leads NA meetings in women's prisons. This is remarkable. This is the woman on the wall. This is what they're doing. How about Becky, 114 days sober? She made the statement to me that Amethyst and the Catch program is doing more for her than 13 years in prison ever did. And we laugh about this because Becky's our little zealot. Becky relapsed, and she was out on the west side, higher than a kite, but she referred 2 clients to Amethyst and the Catch program while she was out there. So we're real happy that Becky's back, and she is like a little ray of sunshine for us. How about Yvette, Amethyst? 323 days sober, and Cooper, 149 days sober. They organize the meals for all the brand new women in the Catch program that go to Amethyst. They give them a welcoming dinner, and they also are now trying to help us transition them from jail to Amethyst in a way so the women don't run. That's been our biggest problem, is from that jail, call the street, to Amethyst and all that boundaries there. And it's fun to listen to them plan the meals out. You know, we'd go to Kroger's or Giant Eagle and we'd get some filet mignon and we'd be able to grill it out. You know, they're talking about, well, I've got a couple of extra chicken breasts and you've got some rice-a-roni, and they're talking about putting this meal together. And it must be wonderful. I'm not going to tell any more stories, but you've got Jennifer, I'm not going to say last names, Jennifer at 105 days, Amethyst client. Barbara, 17 months, 1 week, Amethyst client. Rita Lynch, 266 days. Toya, 143 days. Vanessa, 11 months, 2 days. And Mona, 9 months, You know, you guys, I know why you guys are laughing. Mona's a character. But these are those ladies that are out there. This is what they can become. And this is why it's so important that you're here today and doing what you're doing. And I can't encourage you enough to continue to support the good cause of Amethyst, because what they're doing is they're creating these communities of special people that are growing and that are affecting the rest of the way Columbus, Ohio works. And I have to tell you, I'm a changed man because of this. There's a crack was opened up in my heart, and the light has shone in. And I think I'm starting to understand what true love is, because I think I feel it every day in that courtroom when they're all there. As a matter of fact, I added a probation condition onto their sentence that every time they're in the building, they have to come see Amelia and I. It's not for them, it's for us, right, Amelia? We feel better because they're around. That's how special they are, and that's what the great work that Amethyst is doing. So I want you to know that as a changed man, I'm now being more bold. I'm now stronger. I'm stronger in that I'm challenging other men in our community to protect the precious women and girls who are vulnerable. I'm challenging the Columbus Police Department. I'm challenging the city fathers and mothers. I'm challenging them because in a year or two, we're going to have a casino in Columbus. And there are people right now trying to figure out how we're going to get enough girls and women in Columbus, Ohio. And so I'm challenging the laws that we have, that we enforce them, and that we can protect these women. So thank God that I'm here today and able to tell you this. It's my great pleasure. I talked to these folks from Women's Fund and said, you know, I'm getting way more out of it than anyone else. So thank you for the honor of letting me speak and share this story with you today. I love Amethyst and what you're doing, and I look forward to sharing this story with any one of you more in detail afterwards. But thank you very much for letting me be here.